Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Command List. Playing on the left hand side of the screen is me, Raging Demon, and I'm going solo today. And before we get started on today's topic/game, just want to give a shout out and congratulations to Danny from Retro Wars and his wife on the birth of their baby boy recently. So congratulations to you all, and I hope everyone's doing well, especially mum. So some good news to start the show. Danny's a friend of the show, and obviously, this is a fantastic news, so we'll give him a shout out. So today's episode is about a little indie game called Pocket Rumble. Now, I only just learned about this game probably about 6 months ago or so. And it's an indie fighting game. It's on the Nintendo Switch and on Steam. It's developed by a studio called Cardboard Robot Games. And they crowdfunded it on Kickstarter, I believe, and it was for the sum of about $25,000, which obviously, as a development budget, is very small. So I'm sure it probably costs a little bit more than that. I don't know the exact number, but they started their funding campaign in 2014, I believe it was, and they released the game eventually in 2018. So it was supposed to come out a little bit earlier, but the netcode and stuff, if I got my facts straight, getting the online working was holding them up and that sort of thing. So it's basically inspired by the SNK Neo Geo Pocket Colour fighting games. So when you think about your SNK versus Capcom Match of the Millennium and that sort of those sorts of, and King of Fighters on the Neo Geo Pocket Colour, this is what's inspired this game. It's extremely obvious. I think they just outright say that much in their Kickstarter campaign and in the description of the game. So, and boy, did they nail that aesthetic. So, the idea for this game is that it's a 2-button fighter. So basically, it's handheld console type fighter, similar to like what was on the Game Boy sort of control scheme wise. It does look obviously way better than the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color. So it's got an A and a B button. How long you press the button and how fast you press the button affects the gameplay, much like with most of these handheld fighting games. So that distinguishes your attacks. It's deliberately simple. So it's got simplified special inputs. So like, for example, instead of quarter circle forward, it'd be literally down and forward at the same time and then press a button, or it will be double forward, that sort of thing. The inputs are extremely easy. The super combos and special abilities are literally pressing A and B at the same time, and they've hotkeyed that to the R button on the Nintendo Switch. So it's going for simplicity. Each character only has 2 or 3 specials each. They all have a unique gimmick and sort of meter. So that's where this game sort of like, when you think of like the D button in Blaze Blue, for example, it's very much in that way. So each character is unique. So rather than like, say, the SNK games on the Neo Geo Pocket Colour where you've got like super combos and everyone's got the same meter, it's each character has a different meter, and there's a lot of variety in the characters. So it's literally takes minutes to learn a character's special moves and super, and that's by design, right? So it's to make it an accessible fighting game. Easy to learn, obviously hard to master. There's a meta. The training mode explains everything you need to know. So there's no command list even. You just basically go into the practice mode for each character. You do the basic tutorial first, and then you go around and do all the characters. It took me about 10 minutes to do them all, right? It's so simple. In fact, I even got my kids to play it, and they don't typically play fighting games, but they were like, oh, wow, this is great. This is easy. And then they started playing it. And so that's sort of like my gauge of how accessible it was they were actually willing to play it, right? Which, like I said, fighting games can be a tough sell to this generation. So, and even to the previous generation. So it's still quite a niche genre. Obviously, as people know, people listening to this podcast know, fighting games are not the most popular genre, obviously. So, we'll just start off with the different characters, right? So you don't have too many. You've got, I believe it's 10 characters, 3, 6, 9. Yeah, not even. So 8 characters. I think there's some DLC characters actually, but 8 characters. You've got Tenshi, I believe it is, and he's your Shoto, he's your Ryu. So basically he's got a fireball, he's got a dragon punch, he's got like he doesn't really, it's not a hurricane kick, but it's kind of, right? So he's your Shoto, he shoots fireballs, his super is like a Shinku Hadouken. He's a Japanese like school kid, so there's the trope there. You've got June, who's like a weird ghost kind of chick. She shoots like heads and she has clones, and she's just a weird character, but she's cool, right? She's your weird spirited ghost kind of character. You've got Quinn. He actually transforms into a werewolf. So that's his gimmick. You can only do it once per round. So basically he undergoes a transformation. All his normals become super powerful. And as soon as he gets hit, he's out of that mode, right? So I played with him for a bit. It was quite fun. Hector's like a swordsman. He actually can heal himself, but he takes damage when he uses his special moves. So when you use your special moves, you've got to hit, and you've got to remember to keep healing yourself, otherwise you'll die, right? So that's an interesting mechanic. Then you've got Naomi. She's like a brawler, like a rushdown, I guess. She powers up, and then not till she's powered can she use her special moves, and they're like wreckers, right? So she does combos and wreckers and that sort of thing. So what I mean by that is like your moves like Fei Long or Soul Bad Guy, that sort of thing, right? Or even, Ragnar in Blaze Blue's got like these wrecker type moves. So she's your rushdown. She's fun. I played with her, played through the arcade mode with her. Got Kiko and Q. So basically Kiko's a cat, I think. So it's a cat lady, basically. It's a weird cat lady. The cat has its own health bar, which is hilarious. And the super combo kills the cat but does a lot of damage. So yeah, so it's Kiko and Q. So I think Q's the human. I'm not sure. Not certain. I did her specials and her like tutorial at like command list practice mode thing. And so I didn't really play as her though. And then you got Parker, who he's like the electricity business guy, is what I've been calling him in my head. So what he can do is he can set an orb, and then he can set another orb, and then he can create like an arc between them, like a lightning between them, much like Rachel Alucard in Blaze Blue can with those staff things, right? So you surround your opponent in them and set traps, basically. And then you got Subject 11, who's like a very mobile character, sort of weird, crawls along the floor. Yeah, I guess how would you explain it? Sort of, I guess like your 12 type character or Makava in Under Night, that sort of thing, right? So just a weird character. But there's plenty of diversity. And what's interesting is when you play versus mode, so I played some battles against my son, right? When you lose a round, you can swap characters, which is really interesting. So like you just press R and you can swap. So this means you can sort of go, wow, that matchup didn't work, I'll just change. So you don't have to wait till the end of the match, which is really interesting. And in the arcade mode, it's first to three, like tournament style. There isn't really much of a story. So, I mean, if I was to be critical of this game, it doesn't have any story at all. So it's not like SNK versus Capcom, on the Neo Geo Pocket Colour, where you get some kind of story and dialogue between the characters. You don't get anything in this game. But considering the game's $10 US, and it's built by an indie developer for like 25 grand. I mean, I'm going to cut them some slack there. I mean, the game actually plays fantastic. It's extremely simple, and that is not a negative at all. They've deliberately gone for that. It's even simpler than SNK versus Capcom, right? So far simpler, in fact. It literally takes minutes to learn a character, but then it's all about practice, right? The music's obviously inspired by the Neo Geo Pocket Colour as well, so the music's pretty good. It does its job. It's nothing standing out in my head, but, it's good. It's good, and you can sort of bop to it. Again, like I said, it doesn't... For me, it's not as good as, like, the Capcom versus SNK Pocket Colour game that it's obviously inspired by, but, again, indie developer. There's no nostalgia for me here. It's the only nostalgia is for the art style and like the chip tunes. But apart from that, it's a fresh title to me. I never played it until probably about a month or so ago, where I gave it a bash. And it's fun. It's a fun game to play on the train. It's a fun game to play if you've got a few minutes. Like I said, it's accessible to other people who aren't really fighting game like enthusiasts. And, there's a character there for everyone as well, even though the roster is quite small. I'd recommend it, absolutely. I don't really have much else to say about it, so this is just a quick review. Is it as good as the Neo Geo Pocket Colour games? I would say it plays it's smoother, right? It controls better. I didn't try playing online, but I'm sure that works fine. But I didn't think it was as good, mostly because I don't have that nostalgia for it, and the roster's small, and it does. I kind of like it to be a little more complicated, although that's not their design. That's not their design intent. But like when you think about Match of the Millennium, SNK versus Capcom on the Neo Geo Pocket Colour, obviously I have to keep saying it like that because otherwise there's SNK versus Capcom on the Dreamcast, and but that game has all the special moves. It has 2 super combos. It has tag mechanic with bison and geese at the end of the boss fight. It has cutscene, like dialogue between people. It's just a more, it's got more depth to it. So obviously, like, even though the handling on that game is very dated, you can get it on Switch and revisit it yourself. It's still very good, but it's very good for its time. Like, obviously, it doesn't control as smoothly as a modern game like Pocket Rumble, but I think the people who made Pocket Rumble should be very proud. And especially, like I said, for the prices, it's absolutely worth buying. I'd totally recommend it. And it's a lot of fun, especially if you did like the Neo Geo Pocket Colour fighting games, right? So I think that's about it for this one. We'll be back with more episodes with Jim in the coming weeks. Thanks again for listening, and don't smash your controllers.